In 2005, the Fruitport volleyball team did something that no Fruitport team had done: win a state championship tournament. After 3 previous trips to the finals, they finally brought home the gold. One of the themes in those days was tradition paved the way. And one of the great traditions of teams headed to the finals was the elementary and middle school parades and the community send-off. They may not have known it at the time, but the impact of those rituals would pay huge dividends just 5 years later. In true sense of the word role model, the 2005 volleyball teams left a lasting impression on a group of 5th and 6th graders that lined up along those hallways and walkways, hoisted their homemade banners as the charter bus left for Western Michigan University. Who would have known these exact girls would someday accomplish an even greater feat? Ladies and gentlemen, here is more on the back-to-back Class B state championship teams from 2010 and 2011.
Fruitport Volleyball's program, I think, is known for their fire and drive. And when we were freshmen and when we were sophomores, we had leaders before us that helped instill that in us. And of course, Nicole and our coaching staff was amazing at that as well. So we also had been prepared in previous years as well for our back-to-back titles.
I will never forget the 2010 group when they were in 7th grade. We traveled to Mason County Central and we were warming up hitting, and I remember hearing another girl on the team say, "I don't think I want to play this team."
Within that group of time, or that era of volleyball, with those girls, our record as a team was 110-12.
It was a lot of hard work, starting in the summers and doing conditioning.
When game time became hard and things became stressful or tight, where most athletes become a little nervous and tentative, these kids pushed and they played their best volleyball at that moment. And I am a firm believer in that comes from practicing hard, trusting your skills, trusting your teammates. And these kids did that to the greatest degree.
People just crack under pressure, and we don't. That's when we're most
Focused and determined.
we do our best.
I remember when Nicole used to crack out the vintage jerseys, and we would like athletic tape janky numbers on them and have people pretend they were players from other teams. And we would practice and make people do different tendencies that the players from other teams would exhibit in order to prepare. Nicole definitely had teams scouted to a T.
She was so prepared, which helped us feel more comfortable and relaxed just because we basically knew their game plan. And
Which made them mad.
We knew exactly what they were going to do.
and we were just calling them out on the side of the net, being like, 12's going here. We did. And that
call them out by name.
Yeah, I feel like just by like knowing who we were playing with, we were able to trust each other more, and like we were able to like understand and like communicate better.
So preparing for the tournament run was just an extremely exciting feeling both years. I think kind of our junior year, the 2011 team, it was kind of our redemption, our turn back. We had kind of had a rough year before, and we were ready to come back. We had that kind of fire, and we put our minds to it every practice leading up to it and all the way up until that final game.
For the championship, I mean, that was a real brawl there. We were like a 10-4 deficit. Well, about that time, coach calls time out. They all come in. And you could see kind of a cloud. The air was turning a little blue around the team there. It was no bedtime story that she read to them.
Clenched jaw.
You could watch like
Yes. If it was going horribly, you would see this. The clipboard.
Hold the clipboard really
And then
tight.
if it was really bad, it would snap.
Anyway, when that was over with, it was back out on the court, and things took a turn to the better. We started scoring. I remember Brini Guile snuck one in. Becca German, she would rattle off about 3 of them, and that got us back in the game. Then it was a back and forth thing till right to the very end. It was 14-13, and anybody's game now. Nobody blinks an eye, you're going to lose it.
Specifically, Sam Guile looking at me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're playing this good.
And that's when Sammy Guile fed him one right down the front of him. And that kind of, it was curtain time then. I mean, game one, it's over with.
The 2011 season was even a more difficult season as far as how it started. We lost a lot of our firepower that year, and I remember telling them, you know, I know we can be successful, but I need you guys to step up and be leaders. I need you to step up into that leadership role that some of these other kids did and that you didn't have to.
I mean, our senior year, I was a little nervous. You know, we lost a few of our powerhouse players, our very, you know, key contributors, but being able to win that Grand Haven tournament, the first tournament of our senior year, was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be good still, and we're gonna be okay.
And then that's kind of when, like, the community and the parents, when you started feeling it again.
Yeah.
Like, and thinking, okay, everyone believed that you could do this, so why wouldn't you believe it too?
But EGR was like a crazy game. Each set went to like, you know, super close, went to extra points, I think, in some of them.
Yeah, like a girl was going to Division 1, a couple girls were going D2.
So we got up to third first, and we slammed 5 in on right now. Amber Carmine, she come up big there. Well, then their big gun gets up, that made her nervous, Bessie Rhonda. She had a red face, and she went to serve the ball, and man, she just, excuse me, she just stood there and kind of hesitated. Can I do it or not? Finally, we got the game going, and we started playing ball with them. And of course, towards the end, we kind of let them back in the game. And it ended up with our serve, and it was what, 12 to 13, I think. Anyway, we took them out. Boom, that was it.
Not only was it nice to win one state championship and then win it back-to-back, but it was super cool that we got to do it with our best friends, and I got to play with my sister.
I remember being on the bus and everyone outside just waving us as we went to state, and it was just
That was fun.
so cool. It was so cool.
Yeah, the elementary school tours was super cute, and
was
little
the
kids
best
were
thing.
giving us cards.
Younger siblings, teachers that you had growing up, it was just, it's an undescribable experience. You kind of come full circle a little bit, and it just kind of gives you the will to represent your community like that. Is just an honor that made the experience just that much better. So I think some of our favorite memories include the traditions that we had at Fruitport, whether it was dancing before the games. You know, all these teams had really sophisticated warm-ups, and we went out and got warmed up dancing to Cotton Eye Joe and singing and
Don't stop believing.
yeah, and you know, everyone kind of walked by and gave us looks, but I think they were all kind of jealous.
Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Get out of here, Cotton Eye Joe. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
That's the coolest.
We're all best friends still, just so you guys know.
We had incredible parents that were there. Any parent was there for a shoulder to cry on, to laugh on. They were always there to support you. And our fans, our fellow high school, the Trojan men. Yep.
Oh, those, you mean the cheerleaders? Wow, they could have given the Dallas Cowboys and girls a good run for the money. It might not have looked as good.
The superfan Bob, who was there always. We could always count on him. It was just super cool to always look up in the stands and see that they were full, and people wanted to come support you and watch you play.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
A giant thank you. I mean, yeah, the whole coaching staff with Fruitport and Nicole Bale was a lot to live up to, and it was fantastic to be a part of, and so it's a huge thank you. She set the tone for everything for her students and her kids for the rest of their lives. So
I am so extremely proud of you girls. You are everything I want my daughter to grow up to be. Your passion for volleyball, your passion for life and in the classroom. I couldn't want my daughter to look up to anyone other than you guys. You set such a huge example, and she hears the stories, and you're still so part of her life. And I talk about her because I see the impact that you can have on someone's life. So just keep remembering that, and just know that I am so proud of you, and it was such an honor and a pleasure to coach every one of you. I'm just fortunate enough that I got to watch you as middle schoolers and then again as high schoolers. So congratulations.
This is a huge honor. And as their coach, I know that it is a well-deserved honor. These young ladies were not only talented high school athletes, they were also very smart kids who were academically gifted. I said this to them years ago, and I believe it, and I start to see it coming true. You know, they are successful women who do great things, and they're starting to do those things in their communities with their education and as their future grows. And we just want to, again, thank you for honoring this team. And as their coach, I know they deserve it.
We're going to have all of the ladies and gentlemen, coaches, trainer, manager, come line up here if you're a member of those 2010 and 2011 volleyball teams. And speaking on behalf of the teams, head coach Nicole Bailey.
All of you can come on up now.
Okay, while they're lining up, I did break clipboards. In my defense, though, I always tell them this, and they love to tell the stories to each other, and they're laughing at me about breaking a clipboard. It's okay, it was gonna come up anyways. I always say, they were from the dollar store, they were cheap clipboards. They were meant to be broken. Before I get started, I want to congratulate the other honorees tonight. This is a great class to be inducted with. A lot of great people who have impacted our community and in ways that they might not even know. I'd also like to thank the Hall of Fame committee. I know I speak for the volleyball staff, the players, their parents, in saying that we're honored to be standing here today receiving this award. And like I said in the video, as the coach of this team, excellent choice, Hall of Fame committee. These ladies deserve to be inducted and deserve this award. Do not let the beauty that stands before you fool you. These women are some of the most ruthless competitors to wear a Fruitport jersey, and I'm not just talking about volleyball players. Coaching this group was a true honor. They had volleyball in their blood at a very young age. They spent time in their backyards peppering, probably breaking things inside their parents' houses. They watched their family members play volleyball. They followed our early 2000 and late state championship runs and had dreams of competing at a high level at a really young age. As Debbie talked about in the video, in middle school, they were untouchable. Teams did not want to play them. I can remember talking to fellow coaches and them just saying, Nicole, it's not fair that our kids have to play against these girls. Can they play against the freshmen? Like, this is not, it's not even successful for, it's not good for them and it's not good for us. In high school as underclassmen, they were split between freshman, JV, and varsity levels, and that was a hard time for them to be in different spots. But they had, and we had, some of our most successful sub-varsity teams. This group of girls has one of the greatest volleyball resumes. In 2008, they were state runner-ups. In 2009, we lost a very controversial, one-sided, maybe even to be unfair match against Cadillac in the quarterfinals. And in 2010 and 11, we won state titles. Our considered failure in 2008 and 2009, this was the fuel that fired them to be state champions in 2010 and 11. Which is really funny because most high school programs would celebrate seasons where they made it to a state final and to a state quarterfinal. But in our program and in these ladies' eyes, that was failure. We did not reach our goal. These teams had the desire to finish the battle that the teams before them could not. Now, of course, we all love to wear our rings. And there's a little ego that goes with that. We brag a little bit to our fellow Fruitport volleyball players that don't have them. Really, me being one of them, I have 2 as a coach, but 0 as a player. I get reminded of that sometimes. But I know that this was for our program. These girls loved bringing that hardware back to Fruitport. As I said in the video, our combined record in 2010 and 11 was 110 and 12. We had an 89% winning percentage, and we competed against the best teams in all classes. When we walked into a gym, we could hear the sighs and moans of like, oh Lord, Fruitport's here again. And we loved it. We walked off the bus, we would get ourselves prepped before we go in so people could look at us as they walked into the gym. We won back-to-back conference, city, district, regionals, and state championships. We won 8 out of the 10 tournaments that we competed in. Teams hated to see us in their pool on a Saturday tournament. Our teams were respected by all volleyball around the state, but also hated. On paper, what most of you don't know is we were often the underdog. We weren't the tallest, fastest, strongest, or even most skilled volleyball players, but we knew something our opponents didn't. We were the smartest. We could unravel a team that was better than us by executing a game plan, but maybe more importantly, we never thought that we were inferior. If I had one moment that kind of captures what these girls are, it's the North Branch game that was talked about in the video. I think that most of you who are sitting in the stands or sitting here today, we're probably there. And I think that most of you realized we were in big trouble. We were down the first 2 games. North Branch was the best team in the state. They had the Miss Volleyball candidate on their roster, and we were down. We stormed back in game 2 and 3 to win, went into the 5th set, and we're down 4-10, like Bob talked about. Obviously, that was not the way that we planned for it to go, but we called that timeout, and you guys might have seen the fire that I had, but I can remember looking at my girls and thinking, they're not afraid. Which is amazing to be in a spot in a state title game where your goals are about to shatter in front of you, and these girls were not afraid. We went on to beat the highly favored #1 ranked team by scoring 11 points to their 3 in rally scoring. So some of you guys might not know what that is, but that means every time someone makes a mistake, that the other team scores a point. So we scored 11 points to their 3 points. It was one of matches to go down in the MHSAA record books. People still talk about our epic comeback against North Branch. As their coach, I can tell you that I knew this group was special. They challenged one another on and off the volleyball court. They were the top of their classes academically. They set goals for themselves, but more importantly, they were not afraid to do the dirty work that had to be done to obtain those goals. They are an excellent group of young ladies. As the current varsity coach, and like Coach Olson talked about, we speak to our student athletes on a regular basis about these ladies. Not because they're state champions, but because the people they were, the teammates that they were at Fruitport High School, the things that they did for their teachers and in their classrooms. In 2010 and 11, these were some of my most fun and stressful moments as a coach. But it wasn't because of all the winning, it was because of the people that were involved in it. A Hall of Fame team is not just made up of great volleyball players. Behind all great teams are coaches that love and challenge their players. Teammates that buy in even when it's hard. Trainers that keep you healthy. Parents that buy in and support their children and their children's teammates. Teachers, school administrators that support their student athletes, and a student body that bleeds their school colors. In 2010 and 11, we were lucky enough to have that. So I want to thank you on behalf of our volleyball girls and our program because of you, Fruitport, in those 2 years, that back-to-back time, you made us. You supported us, you loved us, and we're here today because of that. So I want to thank you. I want to now take just a second to announce 2 of our players that are going to come up and do a little speaking. Amber Carmine is a 2011 graduate, and Lauren Hazekamp will follow her. I want to tell you a story about Amber.
Oh no.
come on up here.
Don't say
Amber is
anything
like,
nice.
oh, I'm not saying anything.
Okay.
nice. Amber's like one of the toughest kids that I've met, and I've been thankful and honored to have her as a part of our coaching staff for the last couple of years. And I know that a lot of these kids standing here have become coaches also. And for me, it is so super cool. But the story I want to tell you is funny. Amber, like in the state semis or the state finals in 2010, hit her head in a drill. And Amber is a Carmine, which is a Lee. She is a tough cookie. Like it does not cry. She is not upset. She wants to play the game no matter what. And I will never forget the look on Amber's face when I walked down and Jacqueline said, Nicole, I'm not really sure Amber knows where she's at. She cannot play. And Amber looked at me dead in the eyes and was like, I'm gonna play. I'm like, okay, Amber, you're not going to be in this match. But that is just the type of athlete that we had, that no matter what, they wanted to compete and they wanted to win. And an even better part of this is, we had Lindsay Armstrong, who was a kid who could step right in because her and Amber kind of battled all through that season on who was going to be the person who came in, and Amber took that with grace, and Lindsay came in and did a job that Amber could do too. And so it was just, these group of girls were just great teammates, had great work ethics, and again, that's why they were back-to-back state champions.
Thank you. That's okay. So I'll take a minute to repay the favor and tell one of my favorite Nicole stories. As she said, I spent some time over the past couple of years coaching with her, and I will never forget when she looked at me and said, you need to calm down. And I was like, oh my gosh, Nicole Bale just told me to calm down. I've officially crossed over into the next level of crazy. So I just wanted to take a minute on behalf of both teams to thank you all for being here and celebrating this awesome evening with us. Congratulations to the other individuals who've been inducted to the Hall of Fame. That's an awesome honor, and we couldn't be more honored to share that with all of you. It's crazy to think that it's been 9 years almost since we won our first state championship. Doesn't that make us all feel old? Yes, it makes me feel very old. But it gives me an opportunity to go back and reminisce on the memories. Whether it was making kebabs at Hazy Camp Meats and spending every 10 minutes rotating into the bathroom to warm our hands up because they were going to fall off, or Julie Hazycamp's protein shakes that we were so superstitious we had to drink every Saturday, even though a lot of us, I don't think, liked them very much. Sorry, Julie. And I will never forget Micah McWilliams showing up after state finals with razors so we could all shave our legs that had been growing since first round of districts because the superstition kicked in then too, and we believed that we had to stop shaving our legs if we wanted to keep winning. So the majority of us looked like men in the state finals match. Thank you to all the parents that shelled out dollar after dollar after dollar for our endless supply of Fruitport volleyball t-shirts that a lot of us probably still have, even though they are 9 years old, about. Thank you to Nicole and the rest of the coaching staff. Debbie, you had us all in 7th grade. Some of us you were lucky to have twice, freshman year. G, Holly, Jamie, thank you guys for continually pushing us, for playing good cop, bad cop all the time, and for just allowing us to believe that we can do what we want to accomplish. Jacqueline, thank you, girl. Whether it was a hangnail that we needed a Band-Aid for, or an antenna scraping a big scrape down our nose, Brigile, you were always there to help us and to just take care of us and make sure we were ready to go, and to keep some of us out of a match that we probably shouldn't be playing in. And then lastly, just thank you to the community for the continual support, being there for us, celebrating with us, cheering us on, being with us when we lost some games that maybe we shouldn't have lost, but being with us on 2 of the biggest wins of our lives. That's something a lot of people can't say. The lessons that we learned have continued to push us through life and carry us through life. We together spent some time this past week kind of talking about things that went down, whether it was Nicole kicking us out of the gym on maybe more than one occasion, but we definitely deserved it. Clipboards being snapped, some M&M being played in the locker room to pump us up, state finals before the match just telling us that we can do it and have confidence and know that we have that drive and the talent to win. The one thing that we narrowed it down to is that Fruitport volleyball taught us all to be pretty crazy, and that being crazy is not always a horrible thing.
I'll touch on some points that were already made, but if I go away from this sheet, it will get dicey. So like Amber said, after talking and reflecting on our lives post-graduation from Fruitport, it was fascinating to hear how our time on the volleyball team shaped us. Instead of athletes, we are now coaches, teachers, nurses, doctors, so forth. When discussing our lives in these new roles, one thing was super evident about this group of volleyball players. We were crazy. Crazy competitive, like seriously crazy. Let's start with the 2010 team. We were crazy enough to spend our summers drenched in sweat, lunging all over the Fruitport fields and gyms until we could no longer sit comfortably due to the soreness. Thanks, Mike Braid. We were crazy enough to sit out in the cement parking lot waiting for tryouts to begin, already dreaming of the state championship feeling. We were crazy enough to set out to win numerous tournaments, including Grand Haven, Portage, City, Conference, District, Regionals, just to name a few. We were crazy enough to believe that a state-ranked team we had already beat 5 times could be beaten again in the semifinals. Sorry, East Grand Rapids, I had to. And I think the best kind of crazy occurred during Game 5 of the state championship match. Like others have touched on, we went down 10-4. And for people who don't know volleyball, the game only goes to 15. But I guess we wanted to keep things interesting. But if you could have been in the timeout in Game 5 and saw the look on every player and every coach's face, you knew everyone was crazy enough to believe we could win that game. And we did. Welcome home, state championship number 1. After graduating 5 crazy, competitive, talented, and amazing leaders, were we still going to be that crazy team that believed we could do it again? Yep. Again, crazy enough to do the workouts, but this time, tournaments didn't necessarily fall in our favor, but we still believed. We were crazy enough to believe that we could still beat the powerhouses in the area, Whitehall, Spring Lake, and even Grant tried to hang with us for a period of time. That was fun. Crazy enough to take on the best team in the state, East Grand Rapids, who was clearly hungry for revenge. And with no doubt, when we entered Game 5 in the state semifinals, we were the crazy ones on the court, and they were the quiet ones. As we entered the state championship, Nicole was the crazy one picking out the state rings before we played the game, sending the crazy superstitious ones, like myself and Amber over here, into a little bit of a tailspin. But she knew, and soon so did we. Welcome home, state championship number 2. So where did all this craziness come from? Parents and families. There is no doubt we are the apples that didn't fall far from the crazy tree. Our parents were crazy enough to drive all around the state, host team dinners, support the good and bad games, and offer kind words when confidence was low. I do believe we also made other teams crazy jealous when we rolled up feasting on Teddy Spaghettis, looking like queens, while others had some sandwiches. Thanks, Trinilias. It is easy to say that we had crazy good parents. It wasn't just our parents, though. It was evident we were competitive spawns of our coaches. Nicole Bale is crazy competitive as it gets, like you've heard multiple times before, but snap her clipboard, bugged out kind of anger, but push you until you were better than you could have even imagined. Coach of the Year, 2-time state championship head coach. Holly, our more quiet competitive, she was the will to support every aspect of your game, keep your feet grounded, and ultimately make you an overall better person, and yet still want to destroy everyone on the other side of the net. So clearly, being competitive and crazy was a part of our destiny. And on behalf of both teams, we thank you again for everything you have done for us. To our Trojan men and our Trojan men coach, thank you for being crazy enough to give up your time to support our journey. Your cheers and dance moves picked us up when we were down, made other teams jealous, and are a piece of the story that will never be forgotten. To our superfan Bob, it's hard to put into words how much your support means to our program. We are thankful for your encouragement, your brutal honesty, and your absolute love for Fruitport athletics. To my teammates. Ooh, here we go. Thank you for being crazy enough to dance before every game, for pushing so hard in practice to become these Hall of Fame teams.
sorry. And for believing in each other so much that we were able to add 14 trophies to the case and 2 banners on the wall. However, apparently not crazy enough to publicly speak at this event. To the Fruitport staff, students, and community, thank you for being crazy enough to support our dreams, allow us to parade through your schools, give us a police escort out of town, encourage us every step of our way, and ultimately be a place that we can say we proudly represented for years. Thank you, and go Blue.
What's that?
We're going to honor each of the players and coaches, even trainer and manager. We're going to start with Jessica Malash. Not here? Okay. Francesca Trenelia. Brianna Guile. Samantha Guile. Claire McWilliams. Autumn Winger. Macy Walbring. Lindsay Armstrong Delamar. Tessa Troutner. Allison Beckwith. Amber Carmine. Rachel McCollum Uhas. Brandy Jones Rupp. Becca German Johnson. Lauren Hazelkamp. Rachel Folkmeyer. Brianne Bowe. You guys are doing good. Keep it going. Janelle Vestel. Crystal White-Kloss. Kaylin Lafersky Carmine. Alexis Black Sinamaki. Julie Larson. Coaches, Nicole Bale. Debbie Olson. Jeff Grossenbacher, Coach G. Jamie Allen Stewart. And Holly Hazelkamp. Trainer Jacqueline Tanner King and manager Kelly Crow. Good job. You guys tired from that one? A lot, huh? So that concludes our class of 2019. Let's do one more round of applause for all of the inductees. I did promise a Michigan State update too, didn't I? 33-23 Michigan, unfortunately for me. We're still early, Dave. It's all right. I know he's not going to say it himself, so can we do actually one more round of applause for Mr. Ernie because he puts a lot of effort into it. And thank you guys for sharing the night with me. It's good to get out of the house.